We're going to get that.
Yeah, I missed you guys last week. I'm sorry I couldn't be on, but I'm glad I'm on this week because there's a lot that's been happening in this last couple of weeks since we've been on last time.
Will it ever end? Will it ever end?
No.
Exposure, light. There's a lot of tension right now. I got some really concerned texts from some generals yesterday or the day before. I had General McInerney and General Valley on. I think that airs tomorrow. So that's one that people want to see. Barack Obama, General McInerney said, left the country. So there's a lot going on, and they're going to try to do something in the next 30, 45 days to disrupt this country and not let President Trump in. That's why we can't quit praying. We got to continue to pray and seek his face. But we know light wins. Breakthrough's coming in. And then I believe 2025 will be the starting of the great revival.
Oh, yeah. So we have a lot to talk about just with those few things you just said, because it's huge and it's action packed, because God warned us about this season that we're in right now. He warned us that they were not going to go down without a fight. No. He warned us that not only they were going to try to stop the inauguration, but they're going to try to do things already to sabotage him. We know that he's got traitors in his midst already. There's a few people that I think that I know exactly who the Lord is showing me who they are, because every time I see their face, I see either a wolf or I see a snake. And it's very, very profound. Every single time they come on the screen, it's very, very like right in your face. So we know they have a lot of things set up. We know that we see what's going on with Ukraine, how we are giving more money to them, how they're giving them more missiles, how it's really upsetting Russia. You see what's going on with Israel. They're trying to start a World War III. God has been warning. They've been trying to start a world war. He's been warning us about attacks on our own country and our own soil, because that's the reason why all of these terrorists were allowed in here, is because of those 9/11 style attacks, which again, some have been stopped. But they are going to try again before Inauguration Day, and even try after that if they can't get what they want before inauguration. They'll try to keep doing things until everything is stopped by God. So we have to keep praying. We have to keep standing and declaring and decreeing the word of God, because this fight is not over. That's why God said, even with the election and winning the election, which was a great celebration, we can't put our guard down. We're still in this fight. We still have to continue, because as the truth is revealed, because it's going to get really intense when the shaking is going to keep continuously happening with this truth being revealed. And also, one of the things he gave me this morning, which he gave me two powerful words this morning, one actually before I got on the live show, and then this morning's live show, and then one during our prayer call today with the prayer team. And God has been talking about 2025 is a year to come alive, and it's a year to thrive. So we're going to see, it might start out a little rough, but God is going to do something that only he can do. And no eye has ever seen, no ears ever heard what God's about to do. And he will not be denied that he is the one true God. And I think we've already seen that starting in our country with the election, and what they try to do everything they possibly could to steal it, and they weren't successful. But the fight is not over, and we're not supposed to get discouraged about it. We're supposed to be encouraged that God has saved our nation, and today he will continue to save our nation. We don't know how he's going to do it, but we know he's going to do it. And keep continuously praying for protection of President Trump and everyone who's around him, because we see, they've got rid of Matt Gaetz, basically what it looks like. I think there's way more to that story than has been revealed yet. They're right now trying to go after Hegseth. They're really, really adamant to try to destroy people that he has picked. So we have to pray for the right ones to be there. But I think there's a lot of chess moves being played. So it may look really bad, but it's actually a really good thing. And this whole pardon thing is another thing that was a really, really stupid and bad move on the Biden, and it's going to blow up in their face, and it's going to do the exact opposite of what he thinks it's going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. President Trump is notorious, and we forget that. I forget that. When you bring out a pick, you think, well, why would he bring that pick up? And everybody gets their dander off, and you get all this fighting. Well, he just brought the rats out of the back room. He knows exactly who they are now. Mm-hmm. And there's 6 Republican senators that are going after Pete Hegseth. They've said who they are. There's already talk about primarying them. Lindsey Graham is showing his true colors, and every time he does that, the true colors of people come. And I think President Trump just sits back, takes notes, and says, "All right, what's next?" So it's fascinating.
He doesn't, people don't realize he's playing chess.
Right.
He really truly is. They're playing a game, but they're playing checkers. He's playing chess. He's playing a smarter moves. And I think just like where he said in that, 1980 interview where he said, I'm willing to lose it all to see who's really by my side and who's really with me or not. And I think where Lindsey Graham, God said he was gonna unmask him, that's for sure. And he's also talking about Mitch McConnell. He's talking about all these people who have taken their roles as these big, massive rhinos on the side of the right, acting like they're really in for the country. And when God's just going to say, I'm just going to expose you. And I'm going to actually show you several different prophetic words about that. But God he's going to remove a lot of people here in the near future. It's going to be very unprecedented. It's going to be very unconventional. It's not like a normal one. He says he doesn't need an election to save this nation. But he also went further just last week. He said, I don't need an election to remove people from positions. So there's a lot that's going to be to unwrap with that, because he said that there were seats that were stolen in the House and the Senate. That's why he warned us before election time they were going to go after the down ballot. And that's why we had to pray over the entire ballot. Now, we did get the House and the Senate, but our numbers are not real.
No.
Those are they're way higher than they are. And so they're going to try to, with a slim margin, still try to get their way, either by bribing people, threatening people, whatever it is. Again, not going to work. So there's going to a lot that's going to happen. And I have a feeling that Trump is just going to start unloading very powerful. I think he's just sitting back, like you said, taking notes, seeing who's all saying what. And then when the time comes, he's going to throw that stone that God said he has, and then he's going to take out those giants.
When he's acting this patient, that he's got plenty in his hand, because he's not getting out there violent, or he's not screaming. He's just taking it all in and watching it play out. And going back to Lindsey Graham and Ukraine, as you said, the reason why, and people, I don't think the American people truly understand this yet. The reason we put so much money into Ukraine, it's a crime scene. They're trying to cover up their crimes against humanity in Ukraine. It is truly money laundering, human trafficking, drugs, bio labs, the worst of the worst since 2014. That's why that pardon went back to 2014 on Hunter Biden. That's when he took over as Burisma. That's when we brought down the Ukrainian government. We, the American CIA, with Victoria Nuland, and put our puppet government in so that we could run this scheme. And that's why they're so frantic. That was the impeachment call that President Trump, they said they went after him for, because they were afraid they were going to get the truth. And guess what? Nothing's stopping the truth.
Just the front.
Yep.
The war is the front for the aid. It's just an excuse. It's not something that they really are using the aid for. Like you said, they're covering it up. Because I remember one of the first times I ever heard a prophetic word regarding Ukraine, it was several years ago. And it was about biolabs and bioweapons and things that they're hiding there, child sex trafficking, things like that. And it's funny you talked about drugs, because there was a prophetic word, and I didn't even, really think about it being in Ukraine. But this was a prophetic word he actually gave me this, I'm pretty sure it was this morning. I'm going to try to go on here. Yeah, it is. It was from this morning, but it was about drugs. And I thought it was really strange that he talked about it. He says, drugs are about to be in your news for a significant reason. Many establishment seekers have been buried by sabotaging the ones who knew such secrets, drugging them and staging things to look one way, taking photos or video for blackmailing individuals that are against the machine or threatening the machine's existence. I told you repeatedly, many things are not how they appear to be. Drug abuse in Washington is far worse than people realize. I am taking out all the drug cartels in the Capitol. He's talking about the political leaders.
Yeah.
And it's not just that who is in Washington themselves, it's what they're doing across the country. And when he was saying that they're putting people in precarious situations by sabotaging them with drugging them up. What kind of drugs are actually using to drug them up? But they're putting them with either in hotel rooms or putting them in vehicles or putting them in any type of situation that looks like they're really doing something when they were drugged up and to do it. And so it's catching them in something so they can use that for blackmail and they can use that for threatening them, even though they weren't on their own mindset and it wasn't by their will. Again, they are so evil and sinister how they trap people and make it look like they're doing something when they're not, whether it's affairs or whether what it is, if it's, drugs or alcohol or, money laundering, whatever it is, they try to catch people and they drug them by doing it and sabotaging. So it is something that is very, very deep and dark of how drugs are used on a massive scale. And that's why even God in the same prophetic word, just right later on, he said, my children, ask yourselves these questions. Why your leaders know of drugs being smuggled through your border and they knew nothing about it? Why? They know all these things. And then he goes on about terrorists being allowed in here, about the pandemic. They knew about the pandemic before it was even started, about the hiding money in other nations and saying it's foreign aid when it's not. Your leaders are attacking your energy supply when you have enough to be energy efficient. All of these things he's asking us, ask these questions. Why? Why are these things going on? Because this is part of their system. It's part of their plan. It's a part of total control. It's a part of total dominance across the world. And they will do anything to get it, even attempting to kill President of the United States of America. The real one.
The general that gave me that information said that 2 days ago we went to Alert 4 status again. And this is confirmed by somebody else in the in our government. I'll just say that. It was somebody that's been at the ranch that you'll meet at one of the next summits. He's the one that told me the story about the demonic entity coming into the Pentagon. Yep. When I heard that story, you just can't make stuff up like this. So again, to let all our viewers realize, when we talk about this, we're not talking about politics. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is dark evil versus the light of God. This is what it's all about. And there's many people saying, hey, go after the Democrats with vengeance. Vengeance is of the Lord. However, if you're going to have retribution, I say you go after the Republicans first so that it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about good versus evil.
Yeah, it is about good versus evil. And what you said about the Pentagon and what they did back in the 1970s, look at the last 6 audits, okay? Why? Where's all this money going? Why are they hiding it? And God says he has the real books. So even though they're trying to hide these billions of dollars, it's not going to work. He talks about their money holes and their honeypots, and everywhere they're hiding this, everywhere they're manipulating it, they're, using it as a front for something else. And again, how do you cook books so bad when you're off over $100 billion? You can sit there and think, okay, you're going to make a mistake of maybe hundreds of thousands, and that's even pushing it. But billions? And then people act like that's a normal thing. That's not a normal thing.
No.
It's so much worse. What are they doing with all those billions that they cannot put it on the normal books? It's way worse than people realize.
And you're right. They do have the books. They know where that money went. And they're not on the public books, but they're on these black books. And, go back to Ukraine. What was it? I think 2 weeks ago, it came out that 90% of all the money, the billions of dollars that we sent to Ukraine, 90% never went to what it was for, as a money laundering back to our politicians. 90%. That's just insane.
90%?
90% is what this study, I can't remember who the study was, but it was 2 weeks ago, I think the study came out. 90% of all the money we sent to Ukraine.
And just like right now, we were just praying about it and calling it down because I found out that they're giving more billions or hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine. And they're giving more money to Africa. when, we have boots on the ground right now in North Carolina, because they're still being just spat on by our government and no one's helping them. There's volunteers, there's ministries. You got to think our government, who should be giving the billions and should be giving those hundreds of millions of dollars to help those people rebuild their homes, rebuild their cities, rebuild their infrastructure, they're being abandoned in that mountain of Asheville, Tennessee. And so it's heartbreaking. And so that's why we were doing what we were doing. We were called to do. We're called to help people. We're called to help and do an outreach as much as we possibly can. Anybody who's called by God and has ministries, that's what we do. We go and help people because we're supposed to be blessed to be a blessing. And to see what our government has blatantly and obviously, they don't even care that we see that they have given basically the middle finger to all these people in North Carolina. It's so horrifying to see what they have done to them and how they've treated them. And we're supposed to be helping our own. I'm not saying we can't ever help another government and we can't help another nation. But you shouldn't be putting them first before people who are losing everything and have nowhere to go, especially when the elements are so bad in the mountains and people are freezing to death. I mean, they're still finding people, unfortunately, up there, and they're not even giving the real numbers of how many people actually deceased in that hurricane. It's absolutely horrendous what's taking place on our own soil, and our government knows everything about it, and they're not doing anything about it.
Well, not only our government, but also the media too. You're not going to get any of the media reporting the truth on that because, we've reported, we still have volunteers on the ground there, and we've sent videos out what is actually happening. General Flynn's been on the ground. He's inspected it with his own eyes, and it's just, he's livid, as we all should be livid that North Carolina is not getting taken care of. And Africa gets $1 billion. Ukraine keeps getting all this money, and it's because it's a cover up. It's a money. There's also a Veritas a video that popped up, I think yesterday or the day before, of somebody, I can't remember what 3-letter organization they were in off the top of my head. But anyway, they were saying now that Doge is coming in and Biden is leaving, that they're been told by high levels of the Biden administration to spend as much as you can before President Trump comes in. Sabotage as much as you can before President Trump comes in. Even yesterday, it flew under the radar. I believe it was an executive order by Biden. I think it was the Social Security employees got some kind of extension for another 12 years to work from home because they were afraid that Elon Musk, when they come in, would say, all the government workers have to report to work 5 days a week, and because they're going to start cutting. So they're trying to sabotage just before and run the money out before President Trump takes office.
And everything is going to blow up in their face.
Yep.
He said he set up traps everywhere. So every way they're pursuing, they're sabotaging, they're trying to do everything to destroy this country, it's going to blow up in their face. They're seriously walking right into every single trap that's been set for them. I mean, literally. It's just like Pharaoh walking right into that Red Sea. He had no idea, but it happened. And so it was his demise. And so all these people that are thinking they're getting away with everything that they're doing against President Trump, against this nation, it is so not going to work. And any type of terrorist attack and any type of ploy they try to do against President Trump, because they're going to try to do something against him. That's why we have to continuously pray for his protection, because we know there are people on the inside giving intel to the enemies.
Yes.
There are people inside his group right now that are purposely giving intel. And so then you have people like Mark Zuckerberg and, Justin Trudeau and all them. They're playing both sides. They don't want to make an agreement with him. They don't want to settle with him. They just want to get whatever they can out of him to stay and save themselves. They don't care about what he's for. They just are trying to play both sides to save themselves in the meantime of his 4 years in presidents for being president.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Nope.
The Canada came out, his picture of Canada, and saying that Canada could be the 51st state because $100 billion in trade is going to Canada instead of the United States. And President Trump says he wants to even that up. And Trudeau said it would have ruined our country. And he said, well, then you can be the 51st state. I think he was half kidding. Interesting. And as
I
you
didn't hear
said,
that one.
yeah,
That's pretty good.
And as you said, Zuckerberg flew into Mar-a-Lago to try to make amends and say, "Hey, I'm a part of the team now. Make me a part of the big tech." We shall see. We shall see. He was behind the 2020 election, and I got good information yesterday again, as something that you've had prophecies from the Lord, and people have told me to. The 2020 election is not over by any means. It's not over.
Nope. It's so not. And I think with this pardon, again, if you're not a legitimate president, you can't legitimately pardon someone. But I also heard from my team this morning, because I didn't know this. If you are pardoned with a blanket pardon, apparently, which is extremely unprecedented with how many years it goes back. But now if he's called, he can't plead the Fifth Amendment.
He can't.
And I thought that was absolutely hilarious, because they don't realize the can of worms they just opened, because you know that these law professors that are around and these people in our government know that he can't, and they will call him on that, and he cannot plead the Fifth.
And the question is, what if he just doesn't talk? He can be held in contempt, and he could go to jail for that. So he's got to talk, and that's what they're fearful. General McInerney said again when he was on with me yesterday, or the day before, I can't remember, the days run so together, that he heard Barack Obama is still out of the country, and interesting, Barack Obama, poor Barack Obama, is coming back.
You know, it's funny how many people have left the country in this last couple of weeks since President Trump won the election. And they're just saying that because they don't want to be here, you know, supposedly when he's president, because they hate him so much. No, they're doing it because he knows he's got stuff on him.
Yep.
Especially, you know, there's so many more to this Diddy thing, and there's so much more to this Epstein thing. And Diddy was a fall guy, and there's bigger fish that are they're going to be gone after. And that whole house of cards with the whole sex trafficking and all this kind of stuff that's going on inside the government, and how, you know, they use these political, or that not only political figures, but they use the entertainment figures. It is all going to blow up in the face. And it's going to be so far worse and deep and dark and evil, and how much this society of what this P. Diddy was just one person. But you know he was not the boss. There was somebody much higher than him that was even controlling him. And that's the person we're going to start finding out, because God said about the big fish, but he's also talked about the architects and the blueprints. And so we're going to find out a lot. And he keeps mentioning laptops. There are so many laptops. It's not just one or two or three. I'm telling you, they have a big, huge issue with laptops coming out, and also those servers he keeps mentioning. But something he said that they've breached those servers, and there's a lot of information that has come out, and they are terrified of what they actually found. I don't think they have that prophecy up, and that one comes out tomorrow. But basically, these servers were breached, and they don't know exactly all information they took, but they're terrified of what was taken, and they don't know how to stop it.
Well, so you saw one of the server farms. That's one of the farms that they didn't think they'd ever get that exposed and caught. I believe that is a public lawsuit right now. I'd have to check with my source, but that's why I won't say anything until that plays itself out. But you've seen them. You yourself have seen the servers that they ran it on. Jaguar Wright, who has been exposing the P. Diddy situation, was in the industry. I was supposed to have a 20-minute interview with her today. It didn't work out. We're going to allocate a whole hour to go in depth of good versus evil and the P. Diddy tapes and Obama and all this. And I'm told she knows and has seen a lot of this stuff firsthand. I did get another report yesterday from an intel source that has said that Obama is on those tapes, and it is devastating for him.
And
both Obamas.
Wasn't Mike? Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't Michael too?
Yep.
Or AKA Michelle.
And that's one of Brock's, you would think, well, because Brock is always so calm and collective, why would he get himself in this situation? And I believe it's because of drugs. He's had a notorious addiction to Coke. And when you get yourself into Coke or any type of alcohol, drugs, you're outside of your intelligence, reasoning, and judgment. You let your guard down and you can be caught in a controversial position. Because I always wondered, Brock is always so smooth. Why would he put himself in a situation to be on video? It never made sense to me. But now that, I talked to some people and the drugs part of it, and that's another reason why you got to give kudos to President Trump. He never touches it, and he's absolutely right. But even if you, to your point that the God gave you in the prophetic word, even if you don't touch alcohol or drugs, they'll put it in your drink. They'll put it on the hand. So you may be just doing it innocently and you have no idea. And then they put you in a compromising position. The best thing to do is repent, seek the Lord's face right now, and let it come public that I didn't know. I'm sorry for what I did, and repent right away. And then they can't hold it over your head anymore.
They do that more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you know more than I do. This is a serious thing in D.C. There's a serious thing. That's why he calls them the drug cartels. This is he calls them mob bosses. This is not a normal government system. This is controlled by people that will go to any length to get what they want and how they want it done. I mean, they're trying to kill people. They try to indict people. They've stolen elections. They're money laundering. They're giving money to our foreign governments and try to hide the crimes, because there has been so many crimes that our government has committed on all these other countries, and they're trying to hide up or paying them off. And again, like you said, hiding their secrets. It's so bad, and people are unaware. This is not just happening in our own soil. Our government has affected other nations and other people. And of course, our own military, which is still something that we talk about, that it hits home for you, it hits home for me, it hits home for everybody, of what they've done to hurt and injure our own soldiers and people in this country. And then how they treat them when they come back is, it's horrifying.
Well, we've said it many times here that it's worse than that. When this truth comes out, and I believe the truth will come out, I know 3 whistleblowers that are steadfast that this is going to get out. And that's another reason why they fear somebody like Pete Hegseth, because I believe Pete will expose it. He'll get the truth. We're the last group of Secretary of Defenses, I think we mentioned here before. I've been told that they've been on the payroll corrupt for at least back to the Secretary of Defenses, back to at least Reagan, have all been corrupt, every single one of them, into the military-industrial complex, payoffs, bribes. And you see why, because it's about billions of dollars. War is money. And that's why, we'll find out that our government in the past has played both sides of the fence in many wars because it's money. And it's all about power and gain, and it's time for the truth to come out.
He talked about Secretary of Defenses, and a lot of them who are corrupt he's going to expose, and there's been many more than we think. He talked about White House staff or chiefs of staff. He's also talked about Secretary of States, people who have high-ranking positions. He also talked about, again, Hillary and Bill Clinton, that their dark past is about to come out in the open in a major way, because even the big establishment players are about to fall big time. So there's people that have committed these crimes, and they used to be in the inner circle, but they're going to keep letting other people go to save the ones they truly want to save, or think that they can be the future of the Democratic Party or future of the establishment. Again, because establishment is not just Democrats, Republican as well. So there is a lot of shaking. And there's going to be a lot of removals. And one of the things he keeps saying about even this 2024 election and how many seats were stolen, he says those seats will be given back.
And more.
Mm-hmm.
And more.
God set a total political reset. And that means every person that does not belong in that nation's government is going to be removed, whether it's state level or federal level.
Yeah. And they tried to do it in 2024.
And a lot of governors. Yep, they did. And he warned us about it. He told us that they were going to try to steal the election. And that's why he's had all of us pray regarding it.
So the information has come out, some of it public, others will come out. General McInerney talked about it. People will be able to see that tomorrow, my interview with General McInerney and General Valley. But I'll start with the elections. David Plouffe, who was one of the Kamala's insiders, said, we never had internal polls ever showing we were winning, ever. And he said, you know what's interesting is all the fake news showed us winning, but our internal polls never showed us even 1 day or 1 hour beating President Trump at all to win it. So they knew. She believed that night when it was 6, 7 o'clock, I don't know what exact time that it went bad. She believed that they were going to do the rig job and she was going to win again. She was convinced that she was going to win. And General McInerney doesn't tell exactly what happened, and I understand why. The truth will come out. But he said, first of all, it was a grace of God. Mighty God stepped in. And something happened, and I know what that something happened on election night, and they stopped it. Something malfunctioned in their way to cheat, and it stopped it.
God said he was going to cut their lines of communication off. And
that
they would not be able
happened.
to accomplish what they were going to accomplish against that election, because he even said for how long that he was bringing his David back, and there was going to be nothing, and no matter plot, plan, or scheme that they were going to try, it was not going to be successful. And that's why even on the night of the election, I was praying, because I started seeing certain things that they were doing. Yep. And you also think they just stopped counting finally last week, almost a month later. All of a sudden, a red seat where she won in California, it was a very red area, and all of a sudden it flipped at the last minute to the Democrat. Why? It took 3 weeks to count. The one even here in my state, which is Miller Meeks, that just was called last week as well. Now, it did go for her and not the Democrat, but again, they are trying these things. Election day, it should be election day, not election month. It doesn't take that long. And so it's so inexcusable how they delayed these, and they tried to do it in Pennsylvania and it didn't work. They did get that stopped, but they went real hard because they did not want us to have the House or the Senate. And so if they couldn't steal the presidency, they went right after those House seats. They did get some Senate seats, but they didn't get as many as they wanted to control either House or Senate.
Well, there was at least 4 Senate seats that they stole. It should be 57, not 53. And that 57 is a big deal because every single one of President Trump's nominees for his cabinet would get through with 57 votes. With 53, this is why we see the circus going on right now with these 6 rhinos going against Pete Hegseth. And I'm told that these rhinos are actually starting these lies about Pete, about drinking on the set and all this stuff just to try to create havoc to get him to step down. Even I'm told that they planted the Ron DeSantis to be the new Secretary of Defense story on their own. This was a senator that did that. Exposure's coming.
And there's at least 57, yes. But if you think about the real numbers in our Senate is not that either.
No.
The real numbers are way higher than that. Because again, you've had people that stole in 2020. Yeah. You had people that stole in 2022. You had people that stole even before then. So these long time political people which God calls them the old guard, the ones that have been there for 30 plus years, which they're never going to win that many times. They are in there to keep themselves in there, but they're not legitimate. So how many people, if you think about it, how many people are really legitimate in our House and really legitimate in our Senate? How many people are legitimate in our Supreme Court? How many people are legitimate in the governors? How many people really are truly who they say they are and actually deserve those positions? Not many.
Yeah. There needs to be complete re-elections across the board. We'll see. how they expose this. It's going to be fascinating because they're not going to let 2020 go. They can't. I mean, even if you're a Democrat, you don't want 2020 to go because, the pendulum swings. You don't want people cheating. You want it to be fair elections that the best candidate wins. Serve the American people. So.
And I know we've talked about this before, but something else that the Lord gave me this morning about the entertainment industry and the NBA. So he gave me this name, Travis Scott, which I didn't really know anything about him. Travis Scott will be in your news for a shocking reason. I told you the entertainment industry is not done shaking, and there will be many more like him that will be exposed. So I had to look him up after the fact. So I was like, he's in the entertainment industry. So I'm like, okay, is he a singer? Is he who is he? And I guess he was a rapper or and songwriter. And then he went on to say about the NBA. And he says the NBA world is about to be rocked because a scandal after scandal will destroy the walls and protection they had because of the establishment. The sports world and every dark and dirty secret will be exposed in a major way. So there's going to be a lot of them. I think a lot of them, unfortunately, will be caught up with the whole Diddy fiasco. But I think it's going to be more than just Diddy. But that's just going to be one of them that's going to bring the sports industry and their house of cards down because there's going to be so much proof. There's video evidence of a lot of people being there. Big named
the biggest
people. Mm-hmm.
The biggest.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm told the biggest one is about to fall. Trying to think who tried to do a comm about this. I got confirmation from an NBA referee too that this person is about to go down. He is on one of the P. Diddy tapes in bad situation. Plus, he's one that's out there. I think it's still on social media. It says there's no party like a Diddy party. So that's just one aspect that what you were talking about. The other aspect is the China angle. The payoff from China to some of these NBA players is going to get revealed and exposed as well.
Yeah, they're owned by China, and I've heard that a long time ago. He talked about Nate Silver and bringing him down. He talked about the NFL, and he talked about the MLB. He talked about all three of those major ones. I don't remember him saying about anything about hockey, but I know he mentioned baseball, football, and basketball for sure, and how bad it was, how corrupt it was. And then he also talked about the gambling part of it, the betting part of it. That has something to do with it too, because a lot of these games, unfortunately, even like with boxing and things like that, a lot of this stuff it's not really what it is. It's controlled by money.
Mm-hmm. It is controlled by money. Crazy times. And, we were talking about this, you and I, probably about a month ago, and one of my general friends sent me the origins of sports. Origins from sports, that was the reason, is to keep our minds as slaves on this stuff while they would steal from us everywhere. And they did a perfect job, but now people are waking up. That's why the sports industry should have probably just stuck to sports instead of gotten into politics and other things. But it's going to get exposed.
Yeah, it's kind of like the entertainment industry. They just should have stuck to just making, movies and TV shows and entertain people instead of this propaganda, brainwashing, all the kind of thing that you can think of. They're ridiculous in what they do. And so, again, they do brainwash people, and the entertainment industry is going to come down. It's going to, and it's going to come down big. It's going to come down hard. And God has talked a lot about Hollywood, again, Hollywood elites. He's talked about Napa Valley. I mean, he's gone into a lot of description of all these people and how that not only influenced elections, but they've also helped Washington, and they're helping the propaganda. They're helping the globalists. And then he also mentioned the secret societies. And so it goes really deep and dark into the entertainment industry and how they are going to be shaken to their core.
And we mentioned Jaguar Wright's going to come on. I know other people. I think you know a couple of them too that have been on the Reawaken. I won't say their names, but that have been in the music industry, have shared their experience on to make it in the music industry and to make it in Hollywood. You literally have to sell your soul to the devil to get these contracts. That's how it's done. It's truly satanic.
you can see that with, like, was it Little Nas? I think my son would know that name more than me. I think it's Little Nas. And other people like that, they have demonic rituals for, or like award shows and things like that. They're doing satanic witchcraft right in front of everybody, and they think it's just art. No, it's not. Look at the Super Bowl. Look at how bad that's turned out. That's extremely demonic anymore. I stopped watching the Super Bowl halftime show a long time ago because of what they're doing with it. Again, all of this is brainwashing. It's propaganda. They're doing things in order to influence people in a way which, like you're seeing right now, where people have literally lost their mind. When Trump won the election, they are causing people to become weak. They're causing people to become just like little robots that just, go with everything that they say and everything they're told to do. They don't have a mind of their own. And that's so dangerous, because another type of warfare that they have done against this country and around the world is this fifth generation warfare. They're trying to collapse society as a whole.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they have more control over it.
Yep. And especially now they know that the time is not on their side. And that's why this is going to be a spiritual battle, always be a spiritual battle, but especially for the next 30, 45 days, because they are desperate. The whole house of cards is coming down, and God is weighing in. You can feel the presence of God. As again, General McInerney said in that interview, he goes, the good Lord saved us. The good Lord saved us. This is a general saying this. The good Lord. He didn't credit America. He didn't credit the candidate. It was God that saved us. And that's exactly what it is. God saved us. It
was God. God's the one who said he was going to save a nation in a day. And he's going to continue to save our nation. And he saved it multiple different times in one day. He will continuously do that. And I think that's another thing that he said when it comes to this election and it comes to saving this country, because he's not done saving this country, because this country still has a lot to fight up against. But he's the one who's going to get the credit. And so hearing another general talk about it all going to be God, that's such a blessing to hear, because he's not going to share credit and glory with anybody else.
No, it's exactly right. And This was that what could have been the near-death experience that God was talking about, because it was that close of President Trump not being there with that bullet and all the other things that God saved him for such a time as this. It's absolutely amazing. And the truth is coming out. Nothing's going to stop the truth from coming out. Light wins.
Yes, it won't.
Yeah.
God said it was going to be a flood of truth, an avalanche of truth. Anytime you think about it, it's just going to be... It's going to be God, and it's going to be God in such a massive way. Again, no one can deny what God is doing. And something else that he talked about when you said they try to kill him. He says in this prophetic word, your leaders have hidden dark secrets, like who truly killed JFK. They are still lying and delaying what they truly happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the attempted assassination of President Trump. This is why more to the story. There is way more to the story that's being hidden. There is more to that, more than one shooter for JFK and President Trump, and it will all be revealed. So he's not just talking about the Florida thing. He's talking about the Butler. There was more than one shooter there, and it's going to be revealed. He's been saying that for a while. This whole setup was like JFK.
Yeah, that's exactly what General McInerney said. It was just like JFK. Truth's coming out. Several shooters. There's somebody close to him that is in on it, to President Trump, on some interesting things. It's a good thing we don't have our breaks recorded.
I know.
You were going to talk about Canada. Before we go to Canada, though, I wrote down, because one of the generals texted me. Again, you can't make this up. We were talking about JFK. And what your prophecy and General McInerney, and then I got a text from another general talking about JFK and what truly happened. It's amazing. So that truth is coming out. But yesterday, a really good source sent me some information that said a body was discovered in the Rose Garden. Interesting. And that's all I know.
Okay. Remember the Lord talked about, did he talk about a coffin, or he talked about skeletons?
Yep.
Skeletons in the White House or something like that. So there's going to be a lot. And then he mentioned something about the final nail and the Biden's coffin. So I think that there's a lot to that as well. But there's There's a lot of people that we're going to find out here pretty soon who they really truly are and how long they've been there and why they're there. But there's a lot of people who are not who they say they are, and that's for sure. But I'm curious to see who's in the Rose Garden. I think I know who it is, but I easily could be wrong, just because there's so much into it. There's so much darkness, and there's so many people that they've actually, murdered to keep the establishment alive. So.
Yeah, it's just shocking to even say that happened in the White House. 3-4 years ago, maybe not 3-4, maybe 5 years ago, that would have shocked me to my core, but not now. I know people that have stayed in the White House, and they say it's haunted. There's so much evil that has been done in that White House that it should be bulldozed over.
Okay, apparently I had a prophecy about something to do with the Rose Garden.
I knew you did.
So I have to go back and look at. Yeah, I did. I think that's what you told me. I said something's been buried in the Rose Garden or something like that, and that's when you told me that there was a body there. Oh, you think there was a body there? So, yeah, I do remember prophesying about that. So my husband just thank you, Chris, for reminding me of that one because I thought I did. But sometimes if I don't know, I don't want to say it. Yeah, there was a one about that. So there's a lot of things buried inside. There's a lot of things hidden in the walls. There's a lot of things hidden underground. God also calls the White House, he actually calls it red because of all the things that have happened inside and the decisions that were made inside, but also things that they're doing. And so there's a lot of things going on. We're going to find out who's the one pulling the Biden strings because we know he's not the one who's actually president. So we're going to start finding out who those puppet masters are who are really controlling the White House right now.
And I'm not so sure it's Obama. Some think it is, but somebody else is pulling the strings because I'm told Obama he's in panic mode.
I thought it was Obama too for a long time. He does. He's he's one of the bigger people. He's not the biggest. He's still a puppet. There are people that are mastering him and controlling him. He's just another front person. You're talking about people like the secret societies. You're talking about the globalists, the elitists. You're talking about people like George Soros and things like that. They're the ones who are controlling people that are politicians. It's not just these politicians. Now, Obama is a big person in that world. But the problem is there was a prophetic word he gave me several years ago where Obama was actually ruffling feathers because he was not staying within the bounds and within the line that he was supposed to be staying in. He was not basically obeying the orders that he was been given. And so he was getting into trouble. So I think that's the reason why he's probably fleeing for his life to save himself, because they're also willing to let him go because he was getting too power hungry.
That's exactly what I was told. It was about power. He thought he was bigger than the people handling him. You said you had a prophecy about Canada?
Oh, yes, I have. I've actually many over the past several years, but just recently. This is what he said about Canada and Trudeau. Now, again, God has talked about people who are watching from Canada, and I know a lot of people watch from Canada on our show too. God is not done with Canada, and there is going to be revival in Canada, and they're going to be saved from this corrupt government that is there. But he says, Trudeau, you think you're sly with your meeting with my David, to hear what he has to say, and to try to get on his good side, to collect enough information and data to give it to your puppet masters, and to try to help take him out. And you're also trying to play both sides. I told you, Justin, all who are with you, it's too late for you. I see who you are working with and your plans to stay safe with cooperating with Soros Bunch, the Bill Gates Group, or any other secret society. It doesn't matter who your money backers are and how you are trying to play this game. Your game is about to end. You will not stay where you are, and neither will anyone with you. It's time for judgment and removals of anyone against me, says the Lord. So again, he's also just a yes man.
Exactly.
He's the one who they wanted him. He didn't want to go there. He was told to go there. He was told to go there to try to feel out President Trump and what President Trump was going to tell him, what he wasn't going to tell him. And anything he was going to get, he was going to act friendly, but anything he was going to get, he was going to give it to the people that were told to give it to him. So again, he's playing both sides. He is going to fall in a major, major way.
There was a really bizarre video of Mar-a-Lago, and I don't believe it was edited. Matter of fact, somebody told me it was not. I don't know completely what it means. However, it's very rare. At Mar-a-Lago, Trudeau is not with his version of Secret Service. It's U.S. Marshals that were with him, carrying him into the elevator. Just U.S. Marshals and him. Where he was going, I don't know, but that was very, very strange. Very strange.
That is extremely strange because you'd think that the own president would have your own, people with you. You wouldn't have somebody else's government. Why would you trust somebody else's government with your protection?
I don't know. Well, I think it's probably a good move on President Trump's part, too, because you don't know if anybody coming into Mar-a-Lago, just because it's their Secret Service, I wouldn't surprise me somebody to take a shot.
But, I think President Trump is playing nice with him also. Because, again, just like him, Mark Zuckerberg, he's not stupid. He knows these people hated his guts. He knows people try to kill him. He knows people try to ruin him and try to get him impeached or indicted or try to, steal the elections from him. He's not dumb. And he's not going to be friendly with them. But there's an old saying, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So, again, I think this is another strategy that he's playing, that he's playing really, really well.
And he's part of the bloodline. When I first heard that, I didn't believe it or not believe it, but General Valley yesterday in our taping came out and said it again. He's Castro's son, literally. Yeah,
Castro.
It's true. Wow.
You can see it. You can see it. If you put a picture of them side by side, they're almost identical. Mm-hmm. It is actually scary how close they look alike. I don't know if he's a clone or if he's just his kid, but he looks exactly like him. It is absolutely insane. So yeah, there's something bigger again. If you think about it, you have him in Cuba, and then all of a sudden you have now his son in Canada. There's more to that. There is so much more to that, and it's going to be exposed. So God's been telling me for several years he was going to move Trudeau. It was going to be unprecedented. But first he said President Trump was going to be back in office, and then other nations and other governments were going to fall.
Wow. Well, he's not even in office yet, and you got South Korea in turmoil. You got potential World War III in Russia and Ukraine. We had two hits in the Red Sea on some of our naval vessels yesterday. It's just Colonel Douglas Macgregor has said 2 times in the last 24 hours, this is the closest we've ever been to World War III. General Flynn came out yesterday and again said, this is not, if we go to war, we're in war. Be alert, because I don't want to put words in General Flynn's mouth, but several generals and Colonel Macgregor has said this is the closest we've ever been in their lifetime, my lifetime, to a World War III.
Yep. Guy's been talking about they're trying to start World War III. He's been saying that for years. And he's been warning us to call it down. And he said they're not going to get the war they want. Now, again, they've gotten wars. They're not going to get the destruction in the world that they truly want with World War III right now. It's not that time. It's not going to happen. They're trying to fast forward time. It's not going to work. This is a foreshadowing of what we're going to see, later on when you see in the book of Revelation of the one world government and World War III and so on and so on. It's not time. That's why God keeps saying, do not fear what they're doing. We have to start calling these things down. We have to start fighting against it. And we have to start standing and holding that line and using the word of God, because he has called us to be part of it. That's why he keeps giving an example to me a lot when I'm doing my live shows, is when God's people walked around the walls of Jericho. They had to take a part in the fall and the destruction of Jericho. Just like we have to take a part in the destruction and the walls coming down of the establishment or the one world government and the elites for right now. We don't just sit back and let God do it all. No, he's saying you have a part to play by standing, using my word, using my authority, and calling these things down and being in agreement with Almighty God. So we have Trudeau that's going to come down. Now, he said after President Trump, there was going to be nation or governments collapsing. Here's another one. And I thought this was very interesting because this time he didn't call him president. He just calls him Zelensky. And when he uses things like this, I don't take it lightly because I know that he's trying to do, and he's trying to get me to really kind of press into it and see what he means by it. But Zelensky, I see what you were up to with your partnership, not only with Biden and his regime of DC, but I see what you are doing to try to pull off more potential allies with NATO. You think with them on your side, you'll be safe, but you are not. Because not only I will remove you, but NATO will also collapse and everyone who's a part of it. So right now he's trying to play both sides. He's trying to, get on President Trump's good side. Then he's also trying to get in the good sides with NATO. But God's talked about how NATO was not how it appears to be, is actually for more destruction and more chaos across the nations, and he's going to tear it apart. There's like a lot of the things that he says, like the World Health Organization and also the WEF, the financial one, the World Economic Forum. So all the ones that are the global elites, the governments, how those are all and all their entities, he is going to rip them to shreds, and that includes that one. And it's funny how this country is the one who funds most of this stuff.
Yep. We were talking in the break about this certain person. I'm not going to say who the certain person is that you saw a vision of. But I have heard two, and this is what the Lord has been putting on my heart too, plus two of the prophetic voices have said the same thing, that we are going to go into a period the next 30, 45 days, whatever it is, before President Trump, and just as he takes office, that we have to stay in the gap and pray. It's going to be bumpy in the first half, but there's going to be a breakthrough. We're going to have a revival, but it's going to be a very, very short window. We're not in the book of Revelation yet. But it's going to be 4 to 7 year period, maybe tops, to get a billion soul harvest. And that whole system's going to come back faster than ever, meaning the one world government. Mm-hmm. And I believe who we talked about in the break could be one of the leaders of that once it falls.
Yep. I like I said, I don't always see it. And when I see through, and he gave me this gift where I look into somebody's eye and I can see something, and whenever I see this person, it's right there, and it's so vivid and it's so strong. Something that other person I just talked to about,
yep.
I was shocked about it, but it's happened every time I've seen him. And it disturbed me because now some people that are like that can turn. Mm-hmm. They can turn to be good. But right now, I think that they're making decisions that they shouldn't be making. But I think there's also somebody who they're trying to groom for this becoming this establishment again. If they potentially lose it, this is another person they're grooming for that. But there's several of them that the Lord has showed me. So we have to stand very strong. And that's the reason why it's not only, and I've said this before, and I have to say this again, it's so important we have the right political leaders in.
Yeah.
But most importantly, we have to know that we have to have the right spiritual people in, and talking and influencing with, that's the right word, but with governmental leaders, because they need to be led by God and God's discernment, God's word, not their own. Because too many times they try to make decisions on by themselves, and they're not seeing the whole big picture, and that's when sometimes we get in trouble. So we need to pray that all of our leaders are being led by God. And it's people like President Trump, he has discernment, spiritual discernment of who's really supposed to be with him and who's not, not only politically, but spiritually.
Yeah. Well, I heard some good news yesterday from a prophetic voice. Had an interaction with President Trump maybe in the last 30 days and said that he's going to create a spiritual council around. And he said it was very positive. And I know he has the gift of discernment, this prophetic person. And he thought that President Trump is getting closer than we may think. So that's good news. Back to the one that we don't think could be good. Our mutual friend called him from day one. He's always said, this dude is not who he says he is. And he's right.
Yep.
He's right.
He's right. Like I said, there's several of them. But there's, like I said, there's spiritual ones and there's a few of them politically. And some of the picks that he's picking, we have to pray for every single one. Because you know that we have people that are trying to get on President Trump's good side and look like they're really, on his side when really they're just double agents. They're really not. They're so not. They're playing that part, but they're really there to sabotage him. And again, they're spying on him. They're spying on him in different ways this time. They're not just tapping his phones and all. No, they have people that are in his circle. They have people that are in these really important meetings that are collecting this information.
And I'm told that President Trump respects that. Our mutual friend has brought it to very close to the president's feet about his concern of a certain individual. And it didn't go anywhere, but President Trump, I'm told, is warmed up to the people who are going to tell him the truth instead of just what he wants to hear. He's been through that before. As a good leader, you don't want to just go with what people want you to hear because you're not going to get better. You want them to be looking for your back. So
you don't want yes people. And that's why I love the fact that, in this ministry that I have, I don't have yes people surrounding me all the time. I don't want that. I don't want yes people surrounding me, because if I'm off, I want to be told that I'm off. I don't want to be put corrected if I'm not getting it somehow, which I usually do get corrected by the Lord. But I don't want people to be that people around me just, oh, yes. Well, sometimes you need those people that are going to give you the hard truth. And they're going to be like, hey, this is what I've seen, or because you can't always have these yes people around you, because it actually can do more harm than good. So this is another thing we were praying for, that his heart would be open to hear the right truth. And even though it's a hard truth to hear, but he would actually hear the right thing that God needed him to hear when he needed to hear it. Because there are certain things that President Trump cannot do on his own. He has to do it under God's protection, under God's divine timing, and how he wants God to do it. Mm-hmm. It has to be God doing it through him, not him doing it by himself.
Yeah. And that's, again, the reason why we as believers in Christ want to have the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit, wisdom, discernment. It's so important because we can't figure that out in our knowledge. When I shake somebody's hand, I can tell whether there's evil in that body or not. And that's not my own ability. That's from God. That's the Holy Spirit saying, I've shaken some really well-known people's hands and it felt like just bitter cold. And you could just see evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see it. I can feel it. Even when they're on TV, I can feel it and I can see it. And that's why I think it was so hard when I was in Washington, because it's so heavy.
Yeah,
that's what God is removing. It's not just, like I said, I'm not against every person that's a Democrat. And I'm not against every person that's a Republican. I'm just against the people who are against God, period. There's so much evil has controlled our government because they kicked God out of it. And so now it's time to get God back in that government and bring what God needs back into this country once again. And it's him. That's what we need. We need God. We don't need just a person. So, another person I'm so happy about was Kash Patel.
Yes.
When President Trump picked Kash Patel, I was like doing the happy dance. I was so excited. I love him. He's such an amazing human being. And also, I heard this morning, I was so excited about Peter Navarro. He was actually picked for a position as well. So there's a lot of good people that we know personally, that we've been in contact with because of the Reawaken America. So I was so happy to see people like that. I was hoping that Kash would either be the FBI director or he would be the CIA director. I was hoping one of those two positions, because I know that he'll go after it, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, I get a chance to get to know Kash pretty well the last 4 years. He's a really great human being, and he's a bulldog for truth. But he's not somebody that's going to go out there for vengeance. He's just going to follow the law wherever it takes him,
right.
and he's level-headed, smart, been persecuted so much, him and Devin Nunes, with President Trump, that he's a great pick. Another one of our friends, I'm told, is still going to have potentially a great position with President Trump that hasn't been named yet. I don't know what it is. Well, yes, I do. But I don't know if it's official. So we shall see.
Okay, is that the one I talked to in secret at your ranch? That one you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
Somebody you and I both know pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm excited to hear about that one.
I've heard a story from the other one that you're talking about. Was concerning when I was in Tennessee. I got to be careful how I say this. Somebody that knows her really well says there's somebody in President Trump's inner circle that is really, really bad, spiritually, and bad for President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'll say.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is somebody that I know is spiritually is very, very, very bad. Very. And I don't know if it's intentional or if this is something that they're just blind to it. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's pretty bad. That's why, and I'm glad that he's open. I know he's having he's looking into spiritual leaders. He's looking into people that will pray and things like that. So I'm very glad that he's open to that. We just have to continuously pray that he picks the right people, because there are people we've talked about many different times that are trying to get close to that circle that should not be there.
Or if he picks the wrong person, that God exposes that wrong person in that position so it doesn't become a liability for him, that the truth comes out. Because that's what needs to happen.
Because there's a certain person that I know would be absolutely catastrophic. Catastrophic. Yeah. So that's why we have a job to do. We have a job to do by praying about it. So remember, the Lord has talked about also, he's mentioned martial law, that martial law would take place. And obviously, again, you just talked about earlier, there was martial law in South Korea. I don't know if this is a bad per se. This is a good thing, a bad thing. I'm not really sure. But all I know is that the Lord talked about how the enemies were going to try to start martial law. And if they do martial law in one country, don't you think they're not going to try it in another country? They're going to try it more and more, just like, how they did a lockdown. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing this particular thing and being excused and happening more, because they want to shut things down, because they truly, truly want to stop President Trump. And again, if, say, for instance, we were a type of war, if there is a major terrorist attack, if somebody tries to start war with us, most of the time, that's why Zelensky's still in the power. You don't change presidencies. You don't change presidents. But again, not going to work. But I also think it's very interesting that people are calling for an audit of Harris campaign's campaign funds.
Yeah, that is interesting.
God talked about her campaign funds, and he talked about it a while ago. He talked about something in 2022 about campaign funds and them being used and siphoned for something else. And then he talked about in 2024, he talked about her specifically her campaign funds, and it was going to be exposed exactly where all those funds went.
Wow. They're going to dig into that. Going back to the martial law for a second. Yesterday, I was told from a really good person that is connected, is his belief. This is on the heels of this fourth Alert 4 that I just spoke about. He believes that makes no sense for Biden being a lame duck to go to Africa at this time, that they are setting up a way as a false flag to take him out and put Kamala in before President Trump takes office and come up with some sort of emergency to declare martial law and extend or push back the time that President Trump takes office. Those are his words, not mine.
That goes with prophetically. Biden has been a thorn in their side. He's making too many decisions that are wrong decisions that are actually hurting the Democratic Party. And so they are truly still wanting to get rid of him. They don't want her per se. They're just stuck with her. But there's going to be a lot that's going to happen before Inauguration Day. I just don't know how they're going to do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if something, 25th Amendment or something like that they would actually call, and like you said, let her be it for a short period of time. Whether they'll do that or not, I don't know. But there's a lot of prophecy that would kind of hint right around those type of things, yeah.
I don't know if they have enough time with the 25th Amendment. I don't know how fast they could speed walk one of those because he's only got less than 50 days left.
Or it could be something else that we think they could possibly be that they would be surprised and put it past them.
Yep. And that's where praying, you're listening to this, keep praying, intercede, because there's at least 3-4 times that we all know of that prayer has stepped in and saved our nation, saved President Trump. They thought he had him. They make no mistake. They thought they had him in Pennsylvania. They thought it was over. So much that Victoria Nuland, remember that name, tied to her statement she said a couple days before what happened in Pennsylvania. I believe she knows what happened. With that, and then you have the two attacks that were thwarted. There was an attack in Texas that was a 9/11 style. I think this was 2 weeks ago. And then there was one in Manhattan that we're going to take out the New York Stock Exchange.
I didn't know that one.
Yep. They got it.
Another one. And speaking of New York, God has been calling out New York City a lot. He said he was going to cleanse that city. Then he talked about the sanctuary cities, and I see that Eric Adams, he's doing this to save himself. Obviously, he doesn't really mean it, but he's doing it to save himself to get on Trump's good side because he knows he's been caught in a lot of corruption. And then I just seen the United Healthcare CEO was fatally shot in the chest outside of a hotel in Midtown Manhattan. That just happened this morning.
Right.
Apparently. And, that was just not by a certain individual. That was a deep state thing. Again, they're going to start getting rid of people that could hinder or harm, could potentially put them at risk. Anybody who is a weak link, they will try to get rid of.
Yeah, and that's already come back on the CEO that the police already believe there's no way that this was just a random. They've already got cameras to show that this was not who it was, but they're tracking him down. There's so many cameras in New York City that they'll be able to do it pretty quick. And it sounds like he may have dropped, I don't know if it's a guy or not, a phone. So they're tracking that down as we speak.
Yeah, one of the things when we were praying about him, we were praying about his family, because I don't know if he was actually born again or not. We were praying for his family, and the one thing that when one of my team members started praying, I said, "This was an inside job. This is not something that it seems to be right now, and it's going to be exposed." So we started calling down the exposure because like I said, it just happened this morning. So we called down the exposure of what's going on, who actually did it, and that they would be caught and found, because this is a whole entire strategy of the swamp. Is when they're getting close to getting in trouble, they just off somebody that they can. Just like that person with Hillary Clinton, the guy who they and it was the FBI or was it that came in and they shot him in the head in his house in the dark. He was some guy worked at the airport or something down in Arkansas or whatever it was. I can't think of his name, but he just somehow had connections to Clintons and somehow he was raided in the middle of the night and they shot him in the head and killed him.
Wow. There's a huge list, and it's beyond coincidence with the Clintons. I don't remember the number. It's over 60 people. There was a video that came out last week. I don't know if it was an interview that Anthony Weiner just did. I can't remember the host, but the host said, "Are you worried about the Clintons?" And he kind of pushed it off, and then he laid out all these names that there's no way this is a coincidence. And you should have seen the look on Anthony Weiner's face when they said that. It was like, he was petrified. He turned all white.
Yeah. He should be petrified because these, like I said, these laptops and all this stuff on these laptops and all this stuff on the servers, all the video and audio evidence and proof that's going to come out. Again, there's a lot of smoking guns that are being held back for the right time.
There is now.
A lot of them.
There's three laptops, and that was confirmed. I don't remember who said that. There's 3 laptops. It was a former judge. I think it was Judge Brown said that there are 3 laptops known of Hunter alone. Many people speculate, and I truly don't know the truth, but I kind of tend this way, that there's no way Hunter Biden, no matter what state of mind he was in, went in and dropped these laptops off. I just don't buy it. It was a setup.
No, it was a setup, and he's probably, high off his mind. He's probably so full of cocaine that he didn't know what he was doing. But I do think that was a setup as well. Because again, Biden keeps kind of thinking he can do whatever he wants. He's kind of like Obama, and I think he was put in his place. And then did you see also this happened? I think this morning, the Russia, their central bank is plummeting. They're in trouble with their finances right now.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't know if you've had prophetic words, but many have. And that's the next big thing to hit, whether that's tied to a false flag 9/11 type event or just on its own. This it's not if, it's when the financial crash comes. It's coming. The banks are done. Yeah. They're toast. Now that you got President Trump saying he's got 100% tariffs on all BRICS nations to keep the dollar, it's going to crash. Doesn't mean that's the end of the world. It's going to come up. God will bless it, but it's going to hit first.
He's talked about bringing BRICS down. He's talked about bringing the financial system down. And the reason why I want people to be terrified about this financial system because it was a system. It's a Babylonian system. It's a system without God. It was a system to enslave each and every one of us. This was not a system for us. Now, yes, there's been some people who have made a lot of money on the stock markets and things like that, but it was mostly made for them. It was mostly made for control and to manipulate. So he is bringing that system down, and he is going to bring another system down. And that's why he said, when all you see these shakings, don't be afraid. Because just like there was a financial shaking in Egypt, before God's people came out of Egypt, there was a financial transfer. There was a financial shaking. It was taken out of the hands of the Egyptians. It was given to God's people. So I don't want people to be petrified. Because people have said something to me when I've heard prophetic words regarding the economy, and they're just like, well, where am I supposed to put my money in the stock market? Well, I'm not a stock market advisor, and everybody's individual is different. I don't know where you have your stocks, and even if you did, wouldn't know how wouldn't tell you what to do because I don't know. That's not my forte. All I'm telling you is you have to pray to God and get God's will on what He wants you to do with it. And how He wants you to work it, because I know people who in 2008, they were one of the only people, their whole entire place where you invest, was the only one who made money when everybody else lost money, because he went with what God told him and not what the investors told him.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I reached out to the Lord back in 2008 before I was a pastor, and I had lots of money there. I was making a lot of money in the corporate world, and He showed me that this crash was coming. I got completely out of the stock market. I was able to get my house in Ohio on pennies on the dollar, and it was a blessing for me. It wasn't something that I did out of my great ability. It was God. I prayed, and He sent me an executive of Wells Fargo to sit next to me in San Francisco to tell me that was coming 2 months before it happened. If that's not from God, I don't know what is.
That's right. That's a favor of God. You had the blessing of God in your life. And that's what he's doing for us. He says in John 17, we're in this world, but we are not of it. We're not subject to it. And so I just don't want people to panic. God will put in his system. Like I said, it's going to be a temporary thing. I don't know how long it's going to last for, because there is going to come at some point, there is going to come the, tribulation. But it's not for right now. And it's not for us. So God is using this grace period to bring, like you said, that great harvest of souls, the billion harvest. He's bringing in his glory. He's bringing in more miracles, signs, and wonders. He's been telling us next year we're going to be planning some events because the Lord has been putting on my heart about miracles. And so we're going to be getting out there and traveling, and we're going to be laying hands on people and seeing what God is doing for miracles for people. So we're excited to get that 2025 event plans going. So we're excited to see what God's going to do for each person.
The Miracle Tour, I like that. General Flynn and I were talking about a victory tour in 2025 as well. So we'll see what God has. But 2025 is going to be a blessed year. It's going to be blessed. Hang in there. God has it in Light Winds, right?
Chọc lấy sửng sốt một cái Tần Hạo chán, nàng tiếp tục mở miệng, nhìn về phía Diệp Long Uyên vị trí. Diệp Long Uyên còn không đứng ra biểu thị một chút. Giờ phút này, Diệp Long Uyên song quyền nắm chặt, bởi vì Điền Đại La nhanh ghen tị con mắt phun lửa. Hắn vô cùng điên cuồng gầm hét lên, nước bọt bay ra ngoài một đống. Ta đương nhiên muốn biểu thị, ta sớm muốn biểu thị ra. Không sai, nàng hay là ngã hoàng mà mẫu thân. Thủy Hàn, người chạy tới Xích Dương Võ Viện làm đệ tử, không phải liền là bởi vì tìm được manh mối gì sao? Không sai, Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng, đàn các chủ, chính là của ngươi mẫu thân, đi nhận mẹ ngươi. Diệp Long Uyên đem Diệp Thủy Hàn đẩy hướng mới có thể duyệt phương hướng. Sau đó, đối Điền Đại La kiêu ngạo ngóc lên mặt, ý tứ phảng phất tại nói, ngươi thấy không, nữ nhân kia là lão bà của ta, còn vì ta sinh một nhi tử, cho nên ngươi cút sang một bên đi, bằng không ta giết chết ngươi. Chương 819, Lạc Thủy Hoàng tuyên chiến, nương, ngươi thật là mẹ ta. Diệp Thủy Hàn hai con ngươi bắt đầu ướt át, hắn run rẩy, bộ pháp chậm chạp hướng mới có thể duyệt đi đến. Sau khi sinh, hắn không biết song thân là người nào, thuở nhỏ bị Hoàng lão đầu vai trò lão bộc nuôi lớn, nhưng hắn chưa từng thiếu tiền tiêu, không thiếu tốt y phục mặc, càng không thiếu linh đan rượu dược cùng cao giai công pháp. Chưa hề đều là hắn khi dễ người khác không dám khi dễ hắn, bởi vì khi dễ hắn người, bất kể là ai, đều sẽ ly kỳ cổ quái tại ngày thứ hai chết đi. Hắn cảm giác được thân thế của mình cực kỳ không đơn thuần, khẳng định ẩn giấu đi trọng đại bí mật, thẳng đến về sau bị Vũ Văn Thiên làm thịt bắt cóc đến ám dạ chi xâm, hắn mới hiểu được nguyên lai mình có phụ thân là đương kim Long Uyên đại đế. Có thể mẫu thân là ai, Diệp Thủy Hàn vẫn như cũ không biết. Hắn âm thầm phát hiện Hoàng lão đầu là Xích Dương một tên trưởng lão. Hoàng lão đầu tử vì sao muốn ẩn núp tại Xích Dương? Điểm này Diệp Thủy Hàn cũng không rõ ràng, bản năng cảm thấy cùng mình mẫu thân thoát không được quan hệ. Cho nên, hắn muốn gia nhập Xích Dương, muốn trở thành Xích Dương đệ tử, giải khai trong lòng nghi hoặc. Hôm nay hắn cuối cùng đạt được chờ đợi đã lâu đáp án. Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng chính là chính mình mẹ ruột, mẫu thân hay là trải rộng Tây Lương đại địa to lớn cự vật đan các chủ. Giờ khắc này, Diệp Thủy Hàn yết hầu nghẹn ngào, còn chưa đi đến mới có thể duyệt trước mặt, sớm đã rơi lệ mặt mũi tràn đầy. 20 năm chưa thấy qua mẹ ruột của mình, có thể nào không kích động, có thể nào không cảm thấy ủy khuất, một đầu nhào vào mới có thể duyệt lòng bàn chân, ôm lấy chân của nàng gào khóc. Một màn này làm cho người động dung, càng làm cho người ta rung động. Cho đến tận này, Lạc Thủy tam đại bí mật toàn bộ giải khai, sống hơn 20 cái nữ nhi Long Uyên đại đế, lại còn cất giấu một cái con riêng. Trời ạ, rất nhiều người chớp mắt, lại hôn mê bất tỉnh. Hài tử, nương có lỗi với ngươi sau khi sinh, ta không có tận qua một tia làm mẹ trách, thế nhưng là muốn hết quái Diệp Long Uyên tên vương bát đàn kia, ngươi sinh nở cùng ngày, hắn liền mệnh bà đỡ đưa ngươi tự mình mang đi, trọn vẹn ẩn giấu 20 năm, thậm chí nương ngay cả một ngụm sữa đều không có cho ăn qua ngươi. Cái này 20 năm, nương cũng đang tìm ngươi, mỗi giờ mỗi khắc không treo đọc lấy con của ta, ngươi là nương tâm đầu nhục a. Mới có thể duyệt than thở khóc lóc, trong mắt giọt mưa ào ào rơi đi xuống, hai tay ôm chặt Diệp Thủy Hàn đầu, sợ nhi tử lại đột nhiên lại biến mất. Giờ khắc này, ánh mắt cừu hận cũng là hung hăng nhìn chằm chằm Diệp Long Uyên một chút. Diệp Long Uyên vội vàng đem đầu ngoặt sang một bên, không dám đối mặt, sau đó xử lý trên thân áo ngủ, làm bộ trấn định bộ dáng. Chúc mừng ngươi, Thủy Hàn, cũng chúc mừng ngài, lão, cái kia, tổng viện trưởng tìm được nhi tử. Tần Hạo tiến lên phía trước nói chúc, kém chút lại nói sai mà nói chấm rất xấu hổ. Tiểu tử thúi, còn dám nói ta lão, mới có thể duyệt nhịn không được cười khẽ, lại đánh một cái Tần Hạo não đại, cường độ rất nhẹ. Sau đó, nàng đem Diệp Thủy Hàn dìu lên, nhi tử ngươi ở một bên trước nhìn lấy, chờ nương xử lý Điền Đại La, cho ngươi cùng Tần Hạo làm bánh rán ăn. Bánh rán, Diệp Thủy Hàn cùng Tần Hạo đồng thời khẽ giật mình, liếc mắt nhìn nhau, hẳn là Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng, đan các chủ, còn có cái thứ tư thân phận. Khụ, không sai, ta chính là tại Xích Dương cửa học viện bán bánh rán lão bà. Mới có thể duyệt có chút tự hào gật đầu thừa nhận, tay hướng trên mặt một vòng, dùng nhan một cái chớp mắt già nua, sau đó lại một vòng, trở lại nguyên dạng, dễ dàng tốc độ cùng xảo diệu thủ đoạn, lúc này rung động tất cả mọi người, tính cả Tần Hạo ở bên trong. Thủ đoạn này xác thực cao minh tới cực điểm. Tần Hạo còn phát hiện đối phương dịch dung thuật cùng mình thủ pháp cực kỳ tương tự, cho nên ngày đó ngươi mang theo Tần Hạo đến mua bánh rán, nương liếc mắt một cái liền nhận ra ngươi, bằng không làm sao có thể khiến hai người trực tiếp chen ngang, trước khi đi còn ngoài định mức đưa các ngươi tặng phẩm. Mới có thể duyệt giận một tiếng, sau đó đột nhiên nghĩ đến, tranh thủ thời gian hỏi Diệp Thủy Hàn, nương làm bánh rán ăn ngon không? Lão đại, mẹ ta làm bánh rán ăn ngon không? Lúc này Diệp Thủy Hàn một mặt mờ mịt hỏi Tần Hạo, căn bản chính hắn liền không ăn. Ấy, tạm được, mặt rất có sức nhai, nguyên liệu nấu ăn phẩm cấp rất cao, đối ta tu vi rất có giúp ích. Tần Hạo là mới có thể duyệt điểm tán, uống cháo bát bảo, ăn bánh rán về sau, thể nội có cỗ kỳ dị lực lượng kích thích tu vi chậm rãi tăng tiến. Đối Tần Hạo lúc ấy chiến thắng Lý Toàn Phong Hắc Quỳ cùng không núi Điểu Nhân, xác thực trợ giúp rất lớn. Nguyên lai tổng viện trưởng một mực tại thủ hộ chúng ta, mà chúng ta nhưng lại không biết, tự mình còn mắng nàng, ta thật tốt hổ thẹn. Một nháy mắt, hơn 600 tên Xích Dương nội viện đệ tử xấu hổ cúi đầu xuống, bọn hắn tất cả đều nếm qua bánh rán bà bánh rán. Nguyên lai tổng viện trưởng không có vứt bỏ Xích Dương, thời gian 20 năm canh giữ ở học viện cửa ra vào, nhìn lấy nhất đại lại một đời học sinh trưởng thành, tốt nghiệp, thành lập công danh, trở thành đại hiệp. Nàng đem chính mình thích dò xét thành từng chương bánh rán, vô tư dâng hiến cho Xích Dương học sinh, hỗ trợ bọn hắn tu luyện. Ai, Dược lão lại mở miệng, cùng mới có thể duyệt so sánh, hắn cảm thấy mình canh giữ ở dược tháp là hạnh phúc. Tối thiểu nhất dược tháp có thể che gió tránh mưa, mới có thể duyệt tại học viện cửa ra vào, đây chính là gió mặc gió, mưa mặc mưa, vô luận xuân hạ thu đông bốn mùa, hoặc cỡ nào thiên khí trời ác liệt, đều sẽ mỗi ngày đúng giờ xuất hiện, mà lại hóa thành bánh rán bà một khắc này, nàng cần ẩn giấu tu vi, biến thành người bình thường, thật sự là thụ không ít tội. Tốt nhi tử, ngươi cùng Tần Hạo tiểu tử trước tiên ở một bên nhìn lấy. Nương xử lý Điền Đại La lại nói, dám hướng chúng ta Xích Dương tuyên chiến, đến lão nương cầu còn không được đâu. Mới có thể duyệt buông ra Diệp Thủy Hàn, toàn thân phát ra băng lãnh chi khí, hướng Điền Đại La bước đi qua. Có ý tứ. Điền Đại La cười lạnh, trách không được cái này mỹ lệ phụ nhân muốn vì Tần Hạo ra mặt. Nguyên lai phía sau thân phận là Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng, nhưng này lại như thế nào đâu. Điền Đại La căn bản không sợ, dù sao Xích Dương phó tổng viện trưởng chỉ có lục giai nguyên tôn thực lực, tổng viện trưởng cho dù mạnh hơn một chút, cũng tuyệt đối chẳng mạnh đến đâu. Hắn tuyệt đối không tin mới có thể duyệt là hoàng cấp cường giả, cho nên Điền Đại La đối với mình tràn ngập tự tin. Chỉ bất quá, xuất thủ diệt sát một vị như thế có khí chất nữ nhân, thật đúng là không bỏ đi tay. Trên thực tế Điền Đại La nhìn thấy mới có thể duyệt lần đầu tiên, liền có vừa thấy đã yêu suy nghĩ. Đáng tiếc đối phương không chỉ có là Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng, thế mà còn là Diệp Long Uyên nữ nhân. Chuyện gì tốt đều để Diệp Long Uyên bày ra. Giờ này khắc này, Điền Đại La trong lòng không khỏi sinh ra một cơn lửa giận. Lập tức, hắn liền đem cỗ này hỏa khí phát tiết tại mới có thể duyệt trên đầu. Tất nhiên đánh không lại Diệp Long Uyên, vậy liền tra tấn nữ nhân của hắn. Đợi một chút, đột nhiên, Diệp Long Uyên nhanh chân một bước, chặn ngang một chân, bá khí ngăn tại mới có thể duyệt cùng Điền Đại La ở giữa. Sắc mặt âm trầm có thể chảy ra nước, việc này đã không còn là tông môn ở giữa việc tư, hay là lão tử việc nhà. Lão bà của ta là Xích Dương tổng viện trưởng, nhi tử ta là Xích Dương đệ tử, đã các ngươi muốn đánh Xích Dương khai chiến, lão tử há có thể khoan dung nhẫn nại. Ta không chỉ có là một nước chi chủ, hay là một tên phụ thân, là một cái trượng phu, tin tưởng Bắc Yên thiếu ăn đòn thân vương hẳn là có thể lý giải Nếu như ngươi không phải nhận định Lạc Thủy khiêu khích Bắc Yên, vậy thì tốt, ta hiện tại sẽ nói cho ngươi biết, lão tử khiêu khích, ta muốn làm các ngươi không phục đến làm có bản lĩnh ngươi Bắc Yên quân đội tới thử nhìn một chút, ta đánh mẹ ngươi. Diệp Long Uyên nói xong lời cuối cùng, đột nhiên gào thét một tiếng, không biết là vô tình hay là cố ý, một mảnh nước bọt cách xa 5 mét, trực tiếp phun ra Mộ Dung Tử xoáy một mặt. Chương 820, Tần gia với Điền gia. Mấy thứ bẩn thỉu, trên mặt ta có mấy thứ bẩn thỉu, ngươi cái thấp hèn đồ chơi, thế mà đem buồn nôn nước miếng nôn tại bản vương trên mặt. Người tới nhanh cứu ta. Mộ Dung Tử xoáy hai tay xé rách ra mặt, phát ra thê lương tiếng thét chói tai, trừng mắt đáng sợ ánh mắt, giống như gặp phải kinh khủng nhất sự tình. Hắn sống an nhàn sung sướng, hắn có bệnh thích sạch sẽ, hắn một hô, gấp đến độ mấy tên Trảm Nguyệt phủ trưởng lão rối bời, hốt hoảng tìm đến mấy thùng nước, rồi trên người Mộ Dung Tử xoáy, cầm tay áo dừng lại điên cuồng vì hắn lau. Điền Đại La liền không có như vậy nhàn tâm, sắc mặt u ám, khóe mắt run run không ngừng. Diệp Long Uyên muốn vứt bỏ Đế Vương Chí Tôn, lấy một tên phụ thân thân phận là Xích Dương tham chiến. Cái này chính là nhân chi thường tình, cho dù truyền đi, cũng sẽ không có người nói ba đạo bốn. Tương phản, càng có thể thắng được bách tính tôn kính, nhưng mới có thể duyệt không lĩnh tình. Một tay lấy Diệp Long Uyên đẩy ra, ngươi tránh ra một bên đi, cố ý cho ta nịnh nọt đúng hay không? Ta là sẽ không tha thứ cho ngươi, mãi mãi cũng sẽ không. Hôm nay một trận chiến này, lão nương quyết định. Diệp Long Uyên không khỏi xấu hổ vạn phần, hắn đúng là đang lấy lòng mới có thể duyệt, để cho hai người kích tình phục nhiên. Ngươi chuyện này là thật. Đối phương không cho Diệp Long Uyên nhúng tay, chính hợp Điền Đại La tâm ý, lập tức lộ ra sợ hãi lẫn vui mừng. Thu thập ngươi một tái phế vật mà thôi, dù cho lão nương xuất thủ, cũng cảm thấy đi cấp bậc mới có thể duyệt. Khinh thường nói, ha ha ha, dõng dạc, ngươi đã khăng khăng tìm nhục, đừng trách bản tọa không thương hương tiếc ngọc. Hôm nay ta muốn là thủ tồi hoa. Điền Đại La trong lòng đại định, mang theo vạn phần tự tin, vuốt cánh tay sắn tay áo, chuẩn bị kỹ càng thật lớn là một cuộc. La Nhi, không thể, tuyệt đối không thể, ngươi không thể. Điền Thụ Lâm lại khẩn trương, hắn biết rõ, mới có thể duyệt chiến lực hung hãn, nghe đồn nhưng cùng Diệp Long Uyên tương đương, Điền Đại La tuyệt không thể là đối thủ. Nhưng Điền Đại La tự tin quá mức, trực tiếp coi hắn là không khí, hắn cũng phải nhìn một cái, mới có thể duyệt một giới nữ lưu, có tư cách gì cho hắn khoe khoang uy phong. Hoàng phẩm luyện đan sư, đơn thuần nói nhảm, hù dọa người còn tạm được, cho dù đất rộng vật Đông Bắc Cương, hoàng phẩm luyện đan sư cũng vạn phần hiếm thấy. Điền Đại La chỉ biết là Trảm Nguyệt phủ phó phủ chủ, là một tên hoàng phẩm luyện đan sư, cho dù tu vi so với hắn còn thấp, chỉ là hoàng cấp nhị giai, nhưng toàn bộ tông môn bao quát phủ chủ đại nhân ở bên trong,